So that's that tier. How do you control the stun? The stun's really easy to control. You just have the button itself. You just put it on your bar. You don't need a macro or anything, and you can just press it, and it stuns the target like that. Like, look, all three of them are stunned right now, and my Trents are attacking them. And they do decent damage, too. I mean, they do some damage. They hit for about 8,000 out here. They hit for about 3,000 in arena each. You don't control it. It just attacks your own target. So yeah, that's that tier. The next tier you're going to be worried about is this one, Disorienting Roar, Ursul's Vortex, and Mighty Bash. Disorienting Roar is a really, really, really strong button with running with Trents, because basically what this means is you can triple Trent stun a healer, so that's 3 seconds, 1.5 seconds, 0.75 seconds, so if you add all that up together, it's 5.5 seconds of stuns, or 5.25 seconds of stuns. So you stun a healer for 5.25 seconds, you roar them for 3 seconds, so that's 8.25 seconds, you cyclone them for 5 seconds, and then you can basically Trent stun, I think, again out of that. So you can do 15 seconds of CC with Disorienting Roar on a healer. It's really strong against hunters. You can disorient this whole stampede. When targets are on you, like melee, you can disorient them off yourself. It's really, really good. 30-second cooldown, strong ability. The next option, Ursul's Vortex isn't an option, by the way. The next option is Mighty Bash. It's a 5-second stun, so I really always like using Mighty Bash because I feel like I always run comps without stuns, so I like to bring as many as I can to the table. The purpose I see of Mighty Bash is that whenever I'm fighting someone in a DPS, the only time I ever really force cooldowns if they're not able to run away from me, kind of, because a lot of classes have gap closers, so when I'm using my Trent stuns on the healer, I like to bash the DPS and Trent stun so they're not actually able to get away, and just keep Trent stunning the healer over and over and over again, while I have the DPS locked down as well. So that's one way to do it as well. So that's a really, really, really... Bash is kind of a little harder to use effectively, but both are really strong. You'll do well with both. It doesn't overly matter. And then the last tier, really the only option here is Heart of the Wild for right now, considering how arenas are. Arenas are so fast-paced and people have so many cooldowns that if you can bring an extra defensive to your team, you're doing them a huge favor. Heart of the Wild, you can literally heal someone to full. I'll show you really quickly as a Feral Druid. Heart of the Wild, NS on myself, heals for 260k non-crit, and that's with Owen and agility procs. I can heal for upwards of 700k outside of arena, and in arena around like 300k crits. So your rejuvenation is also ticking for around 30k. You can tranquility, it ticks really hard too, 66k. So you have these buttons, which are really strong as well. They're not the only, like, you have a lot of big buttons as Feral Druid, but Heart of the Wild not only does that, but it also gives 6% stat increase. So 6% agility, 6% stamina, 6% intellect, which is super strong. You get not only more heals, you have more health and more damage. So it's all around just a really basic, great tool to play with. Dream of Cenarius is okay. Every time you attack, basically you get a 30% larger heal on your next heal. And when you do use that heal, your next 2 buttons do 25% more damage. So if you heal and then do a Ravage Ferocious Bite combo, it's going to do 25% more damage. And you can also do 30% bigger healers on Healing Touch, which is strong as well. So it does have its uses, and it's up all the time, so maybe if Heart of the Wild gets nerfed or damage slows down a little bit, this will be an option, because it does make your heals do a lot more, and it kind of pairs well with Snare and Ward. And the next option is Nature's Vigil. Maybe you run this in 2s, it's not all that great. It increases your damage and healing done by 10% for 30 seconds, once every 1.5 minutes, so it's up 1/3 of the time, but honestly, I wouldn't recommend using Nature's Vigil that much because Heart of the Wild gives 6% agility, which turns out to a lot of damage and also is a great defensive tool. So those are talents. I recommend running, if you're a beginner, Feral Druid, Wild Charge, Nature Swiftness, Typhoon, Incarnation, Disorienting Roar, Heart of the Wild, and more advanced Ferals should run this build I'm doing right now. And then I'm going to talk about glyphs. So Feral Druid glyphs kind of suck. Honestly, they suck. Like a lot. They suck hard. There really aren't many good ones. So you have your 2 baseline ones that you always get just because they're so much better than the rest. The glyphs that you always want to get is Glyph of Barkskin, which reduces the chance you'll be critically hit by 25% while Barkskin is active, so it just kind of makes your Barkskin that much more powerful. And the other one you want to get is Glyph of Cat Form, which increases the healing you take by 20% while in cat form. So basically 2 defensive glyphs that are pretty strong, 20% more healing taken in cat form, which is really, really good. So 1/5, like if you cast, a healer casts 4 heals on you, it's like they're actually just adding a 5th type thing. And then Barkskin's really good as well. And this glyph kind of is left up to the user. You can use, I like Glyph of Phase Silence. Sometimes it's usable. It's a 3-second silence in bear form. Once you go bear form in silence, I wouldn't really recommend using it. It's not all that useful. The other ones you can use are Glyph of Pounce. Increases the range of your pounce by 3 yards. It's alright for opening if you have leg issues. Glyph of Prowl, it reduces the movement penalty of Prowl by 100%, so you can prowl around a lot more quickly than if you were normally. And then there's Glyph of Savagery. When you open, you have 12 seconds longer on your Savage Roar. And then there's Glyph of Skull Bash, which increases the interrupt of your Skull Bash by 4 seconds. But it also increases the cooldown by 10. So you have options. I recommend Savagery probably over them all. Savagery is probably the best, but I like messing around with Phase Silence and stuff. I would recommend Glyph of Savage Roar. Is there a way to get around the global to Phase Silence? There used to be a way, but now, unfortunately, there's not. You just have to literally bear form and press it, unfortunately. But it's okay if you know, if you're running away from your target and whatnot, it's a pretty good button to press. Alright, so those are glyphs, talents, how to play offensively. Now I'm going to talk about gearing as a Feral Druid. A lot of you probably know how to gear, but maybe not so much about gems and stuff. You just copy people, but I'll explain the reasoning behind it all. So, as a Feral when you're gearing, the best thing to do is to go agility, agility, and then mastery, and then PvP power, I think. So, like, those are your 3 main stats that you kind of get over everything else. You always reforge to mastery on every piece. Haste is a dog shit, so get rid of all the haste you have. So reforge mastery to, or reforge crit to mastery, haste to mastery, reforge everything you can to mastery. So you can get as much of that as you can. And then other than that, I'm not sure if I have any other reforge really. You always just want to go mastery. Yeah. And then you can reforge hit to crit if there's a ring like this. But yeah, I'll go through each one of my pieces. So I have my helmet that I didn't reforge, that I should reforge. But yeah, you have your helmet, you want to reforge that expertise to crit. You have your neck, you want to reforge the expertise to mastery. On your shoulders, you want to reforge your haste to mastery. Wow, I haven't reforged any of my gear yet. I'm an idiot. It's all new. Alright, and then you want to reforge your cloak, you want to reforge the hit to crit. You don't want to reforge your robes because you have crit and mastery, which are your 2 best stats. On your wrists, you want to do the hit to mastery. On your weapon, you want to do critical strike to well, actually it has both on it now. It used to not, but yeah. On your trinkets, keep them the same. On your ring, haste to mastery, hit to crit, hit to crit. On your boots are fine. On this, you want to do haste to mastery. On this, you want to keep it the same. And then on your gloves, you want to do hit to mastery. So basically just reforging mastery all the way around. Everything that you can get to mastery, just pick a stat that's not crit, go to mastery. If it's like, yeah, that's basically how it works. It's not that difficult to reforge, but that's what you do. For gemming, you want to gem. It's a little bit funky how Feral Druids gem right now. It's a little bit maybe different than some other classes, but what you're doing is you're going around, you're ignoring PvP power set bonuses, but you're getting the agility ones. So in your gloves, you gem agility PvP power to get the socket bonus. In your waist, you gem agility PvP power, and then in your, obviously, your whatever socket, you want to gem full agility, and you get the socket bonus. In your pants, since the socket bonus is PvP power, you just go straight agility. Your boots, it's the same, go straight agility. In your robes, it's the same, straight agility, because the bonus is PvP power. In your shoulders, you want to get agility and mastery, because you want to go for that socket bonus. And then in the helmet, it's red, so you just go for the agility. So basically, gem as much agility as you can while going for agility socket bonuses, and you'll min-max on damage. And then for enchants, I mean, just go for the mastery enchants. I go to 80 stats on my chest piece. Yeah, Dancing Steel on weapon is much better than the PvP power or Rizal and the disarm one. And now there's a debate about trinkets that I'm going to go into a little bit. You have this trinket, you have your on-use trinket, you have the PvP proc trinket, and then you have the Shadow Pan trinket, which is similar to the PvP proc one, except it lasts 40 seconds. The one I think is the best is the Relic of Zen, because you get 1,000 passive agility, which scales with Mark of the Wild and your Heart of the Wild. So you get a lot of passive agility, which means a lot passive, more damage. Plus, when it procs, you get 3200 agility, so 3200 plus 1000 is 4200, which is actually more than the proc trinket, and 1000 extra agility is just a lot better than 1500 PvP power. So this one is a lot more consistent pressure than the PvP proc trinket, and it procs the exact same amount, so I would recommend going for this one over that one. The next trinket option is going to be the on use. Since I have gloves, which what I mean by that is engineering gloves, I basically have an on use already, so that's why I don't really use this one, because if I already have an on use, and if I get an on use and proc, it's just a lot more damage. And then the other one is the Shadow Pan trinket. I'd recommend if you're cleaving to use the Shadow Pan trinket, because 40-second uptime on your opener of a 4k agility is extremely strong, so I would use that. So yeah, that's the most favorite one that I use personally. I recommend it. So yeah, that's how you want to gear as a Feral Druid. I hope I covered it all. I think I have. That's how you gear, obviously. You can always armory the top Feral Druids, so like me, Sodapop, and Taliesin, Wreckful. We'll always pretty much have the right gear. I don't right now, I have to reforge later, but yeah. The next thing I'll go into is Feral Druid abilities, and how to kind of work that out, and how that sort of goes around and go about doing. So I'm going to move my webcam back to the screen. There. Alright, so well, I mean, he's gonna gem, right, and stuff. Is it not better to go straight agility and you got more agility from it? Yeah, but here, okay, I'll show you guys the reasoning. Here, if you go straight agility, it's 160 agility, but you're ignoring socket bonus, so you don't get bonus 60. So that means 160 versus 140 plus 80 PvP power. So you're gaining 80 PvP power for 20 agility, which is a better trade-off. That's why you do it. Hope I answered your question. Alright, so that's gearing. If anyone has any more questions on that, I'll answer, but I kind of want to move on to abilities. So, abilities as a Feral Druid, you have a lot of CC abilities, you have damage abilities, and you have cooldowns. I'll first talk about the cooldowns. So, as Feral Druid, you really have defensive cooldowns. So, as Feral Druid, you have Shield Wall, you have Bark Skin, you have Trinket, and you have your Symbiosis. So if you're playing Feral Druid, I always recommend playing with a Priest or a Paladin as to get your Symbiosis, Disperse, and or Bubble. Those are really important buttons to always be able to use, because having an extra immunity cooldown, Disperse is basically an immunity, Bubble is an immunity, really increases your survivability by tenfold. It's very strong. So the way I see Feral Druid defensive utility right now is you have Bark Skin is 1, that's your first defensive. It is 20% less damage and reduces crit chance by 25%, so this is pretty strong. And your next defensive is Shield Wall, but I really don't recommend using your Trinket before you Shield Wall, because honestly, usually half the time to get Shield Wall off, I have to Trinket and then Shield Wall. Because otherwise, I feel like I never get my Shield Wall off if I don't save Trinket for it. So my defensive rotation usually goes Bark Skin, Trinket plus Shield Wall, Might of Ursoc, and then my Disperse and or Bubble, and I kind of rotate it through like that. Yeah, I remember Might of Ursoc, don't worry. Might of Ursoc's 30% health. So Shield Wall is 50% damage reduction, Bark Skin's 20% damage reduction, Might of Ursoc is 30% health, and then Disperse and or Bubble is an immunity. So if you kind of just rotate through those cooldowns, you should be alright through the match. As a Feral Druid, if you don't have Trinket or Bark Skin or Disperse, but you still have Shield Wall, I would say you're not safe, because Feral Druids are very susceptible in stuns and you can just go 100-0. So always just make sure that you're careful of that. If not, you want to pre-wall if you feel like you're going to get stunned soon. So those are the defensive cooldowns. And then you also have Heart of the Wild. So your 6-minute Heart of the Wild cooldown. If you're out of CC, you can always Heart of the Wild, Nature Swiftness, and then heal your partner for, it usually heals around 100 plus K in Arena. 100k to 300k, anywhere between there. So that's a pretty big heal. So it's almost like Life Swap. So those are your cooldowns as Feral Druid, your defensive ones. Your offensive ones are basically Berserk. It's a 3-minute cooldown. What it does is it reduces the energy cost of all your abilities by 50%. So basically what that is you press it, you can basically shred forever. It's pretty good. Shredding forever means quite a bit of damage. You get a lot of combo points, so you get a lot of procs as to do more with. So it's a pretty good button to utilize. I like to use my Berserk once I know an enemy team has used their small defensive cooldowns to kind of force the big ones. So just say I'm on Ally Shaman, I force Shamistic Rage without Berserk, and then I pop Berserk to kind of go for the kill or force healer major cooldowns and stuff like that. Or force Paladin Bubble with it. Like, you want to be forcing big cooldowns with your big cooldowns. So I force mini ones, like mini shield walls and stuff. and then I pop Berserk to get the main cooldowns. So that's kind of how I use that one. So those are the Feral Druid cooldowns. Another great cooldown a lot of people don't know about is this one. It's called Stampeding Roar. What it is a team 60% sprint for 8 seconds and removes all snares from the target.